My, this is a big crowd, and I want to just say hello, Michigan. We love Michigan. And I'm thrilled to be back in this magnificent state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. Thank you. Thank you very much. Before we begin, I want to send our profound sympathy and our immense support to everyone back in Florida and Georgia, the Carolinas, who are struck by this brutal wrath of the hurricane. Not a good hurricane. This was a big one. You know, a lot of times they say the hurricane's coming and nothing happens. This was a bad one. This was a really bad one. So we just want to say hello to everybody in that area, and we want to say we love you very much, and we do. Just please know our hearts are with you and our prayers are with you. Thank you. We'll all stay strong together. We'll pull through it. That was a bad couple of days. 6 weeks from now, the people of Michigan are going to vote to fire your radical left Democrat Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And you're going to send a very good person, a very, very good woman, Tudor Dixon, to the governor's mansion. You're going to elect one of the toughest lawyers I've ever known, and I've known some tough ones, and I've known some good ones. He's as good as they get. He is tough and smart, and he's going to bring your state back. Matt DePerno as your next Attorney General. Hi, Matt. You're going to do a job, Matt. And a woman that is just a fantastic talent and a fantastic person, Christina Caramo. Christina, thank you, Dan. What a group. Secretary of State. And somebody that I've known for a long time. He did great. I think he happened to win the last election for the Senate. I happen to think he won it by quite a bit. And now he's way leading. He's doing a fantastic job. He's got the most beautiful family you've ever seen. John James. Fight for Congress. John James. Thank you, John. Great guy. And together we're going to end crazy Nancy Pelosi's political career once and for all. She's crazy. She is crazy. Under Biden, Whitmer, Pelosi, Schumer, and the radical Democrat Congress, natural gas utility bills are up 52% at least. Airfares are up almost 50%, and here in Michigan, the cost of gasoline is up 79%. It would have been down. Since I left office, the average Michigan family is paying over $107 more per month for food. Think of that. $78 more for housing, $275 more for transportation, monthly basis, and $164 more per month for a thing called energy. And it's going way up because they're using these strategic reserves that we topped out, first time in 51 years, 75 million barrels I bought only to be used so they can keep the price of gasoline down just a little bit for an election. Not supposed to be used for that. It's supposed to be used for trouble like wartime and military trouble, not to keep prices down. By the way, they didn't do too good in keeping the prices down either, because you have record-setting energy. And take a look at your electric bill, by the way. That's all part of it. The typical American family is losing over $4,200 a year in income because of the inflation created just in the last year and a half. Just in the last year and a half, think of it. And it's going much higher, all created by the Democrat Party. The increase in mortgage rates means an ordinary home buyer has lost nearly $300,000 in purchasing power. Murders in Michigan. Let's talk about crime. Murders in Michigan are up by over 30%. Carjackings in your state are up by, listen to this one, 764%. We better get Matt DePerno in there. He'll stop it. Get Tudor Dixon. Get Christina. Matt, you don't like carjackers, do you? I don't think so, Matt. 764% is ridiculous. The choice in this election is simple. If you want the decline and fall of America, then vote for the radical left Democrats. That's what's happening. We have a nation, as I say, in decline. If you want to stop the destruction of our country and save the American dream, you must vote Republican. You have to. I don't think you have a choice. I don't even think you have a choice. As bad as things are today, if the radical Democrats keep their grip on the House and the Senate, the situation will only get worse. They'll flood the country with tens of millions more illegal aliens. By the way, nobody's ever seen anything like what's happening right now with our border. We had the border the strongest ever in the history of our country, and now we have maybe the worst border in the world, because I don't believe third world countries would allow a border like that to take place in their country. But they want to ram through mass amnesty and give illegal aliens welfare, free health care, and the right to vote. They want to give them more than we give our great warriors, our military. They want to do better for them than they do for our military. We're not going to let it happen. They will abolish the filibuster, obliterate election integrity, which they've already done, to be totally honest with you, gut our military, bankrupt the Treasury, trash the currency, and incinerate trillions of dollars in middle-class wealth. And it's happening to you all the time, down over $7,800 middle-income families in terms of worth. If we get 2 more years of Democrat rule, your finances, your family, your community, and your country might never recover. You may never recover. This is so bad. Between what's happened to our military, what's happened to our border, what's happened to our finances, what's happened to this country, you may not recover, but we will save the day. We will save the day. But frankly, your vote is the only thing that can stop it. So on November 8th, Michigan patriots have to shatter every record, because they cheat like hell, these people. They cheat like hell. Remember, they said, oh, no, there was no corruption in Detroit, none whatsoever. For 50 years, it's been known as the most. They said, no, we found no votes. No votes. What happened to all those votes? It's a shame. A shame what happened. Who would have thought our elections are so rigged and crooked? Who would have thought our borders are open? They want no voter ID. You know why they don't want voter ID? They fight voter ID because they want to cheat. You have to defy every prediction, and you have to swamp Gretchen Whitmer and the radical Democrats with a colossal red Republican wave. Before our very eyes, the radical left Democrats are waging a full-scale assault on the most sacred rights and liberties of the American people. They're trying to wipe out free speech, crush religious liberty, confiscate your guns, indoctrinate your children, criminalize dissent, and even put their political opponents in prison. I think they'd like to see me in prison. Can you imagine? I think they'd like. You know why? You know why? Because they're sick. They're sick people. The Biden administration is completely corrupt, jailing political opponents just like the Soviet Union, now Russia. The Soviet Union, now Russia. Think of it. We're being compared to that by many, many people because of what's happening with the criminal justice system. I think it's the criminal injustice system. If the communists win, and now we're talking communists, we don't say socialist anymore, because we've already skipped over socialist. But I'm afraid we have never had, and I don't believe we'll ever have a fair election again. I don't believe it. Just days ago, the FBI sent dozens and dozens of agents to raid and arrest a Catholic pro-life activist and father of 7 in Pennsylvania on bogus pretext in an outrageous act of religious persecution and political repression. Sisters, you hear that, right? You know all about that, don't you? Look at these beautiful, incredible sisters. They were so tough. Boom, boom. They were so tough. Stand up, sisters. So beautiful. That's great. They were so tough, but you know what? They could teach. And they didn't stand for any nonsense. Look how nice they look, but they were strong. We need you very badly, and very unfair what's happening to religious liberty. You know that. You know that better than anybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. Likewise, the Biden administration has locked up dozens and dozens of political prisoners in horrific conditions, horrible, horrible conditions in Washington. So filthy, so dirty that people don't even want to go there to look. They don't want to look. They get sick. And by the way, somebody that did go there is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She went there. She went there. And she didn't like what she saw. What she saw, she said, she told me, I've never seen anything like it in my life, what they're doing to these people. And even solitary confinement for protesting, and that's what they did. They protested on January 6th. You know what they were protesting primarily? The election results. They were protesting persecuting people who just happened to be there. Many of them didn't even go in. I am their number one target, but I am proud to be fighting for you, and I'm going to be fighting for you for a long time. So let's talk about, I never thought I'd have to say this, frankly, but let's talk about the persecution of Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Let's talk about it. On January 6, 2021, I made a speech entitled Peacefully and Patriotically. 3 days before realizing there were going to be perhaps 1 million people. People never talk about how many people were there. It's one of the largest crowds I've ever spoken before. Nobody ever talks about it. Pictures of the crowds have disappeared unless they give you pictures from 5 o'clock in the morning. 1 million people at the potentially historic speech, which it turned out to be a historic speech, and I recommended and authorized to numerous people, including the Secretary of Defense and others, 10,000 to 20,000 troops to ensure peace, safety, and protection. That recommendation was turned down by crazy Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C. They said they didn't like the look of it, but that means there was no insurrection, because somebody creating an insurrection doesn't recommend from 10 to 20,000 troops to keep everybody safe. But you won't hear about that from the fake news media right back there. There's a lot of them. You won't hear about it. I never read about it. I keep saying we authorized from 10 to 20,000, and it's in the Obama, from previous, the Obama Inspector General's report. And they turned it down, and they don't want to talk about it. The Unselect Committee doesn't want to talk about it. It's a complete scam. The Unselect Committee is a complete and total scam. The witch hunt is run by two rhinos who have been thrown out of the Republican Party, Liz Cheney and crying Adam Kinzinger. In fact, Liz Cheney lost her election in the great state of Wyoming. We love Wyoming. We love Wyoming. But she lost her election by 40 points, a record loss for a sitting member of Congress. In other words, no congressperson has ever lost by that. And you know who was second? A guy named Rice from South Carolina, 26 points, but she obliterated. You know what he was? He was an impeacher, and she was an impeacher, and Kinzinger was an impeacher, and I guess 9 of them are gone. The only one... The only one that made it, but we'll get him next time. He had 7 only Trumpers running against him. So he had 7 people, only Trump. We call them only Trumpers. They don't accept anybody else. But we had 7, only Trump, against one guy. He got like 17%. But we say, we'll get him next time. But we have no representation on the committee, no right to have lawyers present, no opportunity to cross-examine witnesses, and we have no due process whatsoever. It's a runaway freight train that, frankly, the people of our country aren't even watching. The ratings are down the tubes. Nobody cares at this point. Many witnesses are lying, writing books, and embarrassing Congress and demeaning our country. People who were in or left the administration said great things, and I want to write a great book about the president. Oh, we love our president. He's so great. We love our president. But we're told by the biased, horrible publishers throughout the country, there aren't too many of them left, actually, that if you don't say something bad about President Trump, we will never publish your book. But we'll pay you a lot of money if you're willing to say something bad. And some of them gave into the dark side and wrote lies and fabricated stories, all sorts of stories. I had a story the other day that I wanted to fire my daughter, Ivanka. That didn't happen. No, but how do you call your daughter and explain this, right? You know, they read this disgusting talk. That was a writer from the fake New York Times, the failing New York Times, a lot of unfunded liability. I was a really bad reporter, thinks that she's my biographer, even though she knows me a lot less than some of the people standing right on that platform right back there. Some of whom are okay, like about 10%. As we talk about and think of the rigged and stolen election of 2020, presidential election, rigged and stolen, I would like to thank a great woman named Ginny Thomas. Do you know Ginny Thomas? She's a great woman. The wife of a great man, Justice Clarence Thomas, for her courage and strength in saying, according to the standard and routine leaks from the committee, you know, everything leaks out of those committees. They're like a leaking sieve. They're just like a leaking sieve. But she said that she still believes the 2020 election was stolen. She didn't say, oh, well, I'd like not to get involved. Of course, it was a wonderful election. It was a rigged and stolen election. She didn't wait and sit around and say, well, let me give you maybe a different answer that I've been saying for the last 2 years. No. She didn't wilt under pressure like so many others that are weak people and stupid people, because once they wilt, they end up being a witness for a long time. She said what she thought. She said what she believed in. Too many Republicans are weak and they're afraid, and they better get strong fast, or you're not going to have a Republican Party and you're not going to have a country anymore. Stand up, Mike. He's a patriot. Mike is a patriot. Mike Lindell. He's the greatest buyer of commercials in the history of our country. This guy, he's got more commercials than anybody. If he struck oil, the oil companies couldn't afford to put on the commercials that you do. Will you explain this to me, please? Someday you're going to sit down and explain. He's the single greatest commercial buyer, but I have heard, you're doing great, I have heard that patriots are buying those pillows, and they're very good, and everything else. But we want to thank you. This guy's been fighting this fight. And the FBI raided Mike. Can you believe it? They raided Mike. They took his phone. And Mike looked at him like they're crazy. Never happened like this. Anyway, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it very much. Everybody here appreciates it. Thank you, Mike. But what they're doing is they're all attacking me, including the racist AG, Attorney General in New York, whose state is falling apart from murders, rapes, robberies, drug deals, and every other form of record-breaking crime. The homeless are sadly but dangerously roaming all over the streets of New York City, and the city is filthy dirty as this racist AG. She is just as bad as you get. As she only campaigned. You know what her campaign was? I didn't know her. She didn't know me. I will get Donald Trump. And she beat a big field of candidates with a small vote. And then, you know, she ran for governor. And she got like 2% or something. And then she went right back. I said, well, does this mean she's leaving the state from the attorney general because she's terrible? She's terrible on crime, unless it's Donald Trump we can get in some form. But then they sued me, and even though there was no victim, you know, there's no victim. She was trying to protect banks, but the banks got paid. They never even defaulted. They were. The fact is, I made a lot of money. We have a lot of cash. We have a great company. I pay off the banks. I think she thought the banks were taken advantage of. No, the banks had the best lawyers in the country. Believe me, I know that. They're very smart. We don't need her protecting banks. We need her protecting the people of New York from being murdered. But I'll play this little video. It'll take a second. It's sort of interesting because you see how they want to campaign nowadays. Go ahead, please.
I'm announcing that today we are filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump.
This lawsuit, Carly, is doomed from the start because the attorney general that is bringing it, she bragged about doing so.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue. We're going to be a real pain in the ass.
Before she launched anything resembling an official investigation.
It's a frivolous lawsuit.
There may be some problems in the lawsuit.
Letitia James has politicized this investigation. She campaigned on vote for me and I'll nail Donald Trump. She has fundraised on it.
It's hard for me not to conclude it's a political hit job. And this is a woman who campaigned for office promising she was going to go after Trump.
The Trump's argument here is not absurd. It's not ridiculous. The crux of their argument is we have been politically targeted by this Attorney General, Letitia James. And you know what? They're right. And that's not a matter of opinion or speculation. That's a matter of fact.
Prosecutors should know when they take the job, they need to be more careful about talking about politics.
Even the New York Times pointed out how weak her allegations are.
Letitia James has a real big problem proving fraud against the former president.
She'll go after anyone to advance her political career.
We got plenty of them. I will get Donald Trump. Just vote for me. Vote for me. Then she gets, well, let's see. What has Trump done wrong? Done nothing wrong. That's why it's gone on for years and years. No victim. There's no victim except Trump. And let me tell you, the judge we have in the case is even worse than her. We got a judge who's a radical left lunatic. He's treated us so horribly and unfairly. There's never been anything like what's happened to me. There's never been. But you know what? We will persevere. We're going to do very well. But they've treated us very unfairly in New York. And I think it all comes down from Washington. They're telling these locals to go after. They failed. They're telling these locals to go down and get Trump. It shouldn't be allowed to happen in this country. This should not be allowed to happen. In the Manhattan DA's office, a number of prosecutors actually quit. I love these people, whoever they may be. They quit because they thought I was being treated unfairly. Can you imagine prosecutors quitting? But I actually gained a certain respect for the DA and for the office because of the stance they took. The previous weak and ineffective DA, a guy named Cyrus Vance, by the way, whose father gave away the Panama Canal for $1 in perhaps the worst business deal in history, might be the worst deal ever made. After we lost 25,000 people to malaria, the mosquitoes, and billions of dollars to build it many, many years ago. And by the way, today it's one of the most successful enterprises anywhere in the world. Those ships are coming across from China and from every place you can imagine, and they're paying Panama a fortune, money that should be going to us. In what could only happen to Donald Trump, there was actually a Hillary Clinton lawyer with a Hillary Clinton law firm. This could only happen to me, I'm telling you, nobody else. All these great politicians, it's never going to happen to you people. Maybe a little bit. Maybe you'll have one investigation or two, but you won't have hundreds. You won't have hundreds. You know, if I fly over a Democrat state, I get a subpoena. I tell my pilots, please just fly. No, these people are sick. But this was a Hillary Clinton lawyer. Think of this. Her lawyer, her law firm, who moved into the Manhattan District Attorney's office and worked for the Manhattan District Attorney, brought his staff along to try and have me prosecuted. How would you like that? So her lawyer actually moved into the prosecutor's office. The lawyer from Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison was working for the Manhattan DA. Is that legal? They may have a major liability. And this was so deeply unethical and wrong, and I think it was illegal, but what do I know? He stayed there for over a year to find any way to get Trump. And you know what? He failed. That just shows you how clean we are. I have a friend who's very smart, very big business person. Many of you would have heard of him. He said, you have to be the most honest person in the world to have survived all of these investigations for years and years. It's true. But I believe the current DA threw him out. I think they threw him out. They saw how unfair it was when the current DA was elected. He saw how unfair it was. But the fact is, he and others, really, you look at this guy, this lawyer, he failed because we've done nothing wrong, and he worked so hard. It's so unethical. Think of it. Hillary's Clinton's lawyer and law firm, they moved into the Manhattan DA's office to get me. And it took us a while. We said, who is this maniac? Turned out to be Hillary Clinton's lawyer. So I don't think any of you will have a problem like that one. But the true victims are the people dying on the streets of New York, which New York's racist attorney general does absolutely nothing about. She only wants to get Trump. So just think of it. They're coming after me fast and furious, not because I did anything wrong, because I didn't. I think they're taking their orders from Washington, but only because they're trying to hurt me as a candidate. And the millions and millions of people, we had 75 million people. I think it was much higher than that. I think it was much higher. By the way, that's the largest number of people, the greatest number of people in the history of our country that ever voted for a sitting president, by a lot, by millions and millions. Not close, by a lot. But they're after the America First policy and make America great again. They don't like that. They don't like those words. But look at what we've been through together. Russia, Russia, Russia. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Which would have never happened if I was president. Impeachment hoax number one. Impeachment hoax number two. The Mueller report that came to a conclusion of no collusion. That's pretty good. Came to a conclusion of no collusion. You think Biden could say that? I don't think so. That's a pretty good, that's a tough one. But think of that, that was their conclusion. All of this money spent, they spent $48 million, 18 mad, crazy, Democrat, radical left maniacs, FBI agents all over the place, and after 2 years they said, there's no collusion with Russia. But I could have told them on day one. And by the way, they knew on day one, too. They knew on day one. Then we caught them spying on my campaign and getting caught. We caught them spying on my campaign. What do you think would have happened if it was reversed? Let's take Obama, not Biden. Let's take Obama. And let's say we got caught spying on his campaign. I do believe they would reinstitute the death penalty very quickly. As we should do, by the way, for all drug dealers, okay? You want to see crime drop in this country? You'll see it drop 80% or more. We have our blue ribbon committees, however. Now, we have to do that. But they lied to the FISA court. They lied to Congress. They illegally broke in my opinion, illegally, broke in to my home in Florida in violation of the Fourth Amendment. Can you imagine that? Dozens and dozens of armed FBI agents, also violating the Presidential Records Act, and so much more. They violated, very simple, reads very simply, the Presidential Records Act. And you have to see, Bush had a warehouse. Bush Sr. had a warehouse. Crooked Hillary Clinton deleted 33,000 emails, many of which were classified. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton lost a lot of stuff. Obama, didn't they say 33 million pages of stuff? God, where is it? What happened? And yet, with all of the persecution and prosecution that we've gone through, we, I say we, all of us together, we are leading everyone in the polls by a lot. More than ever before. It's pretty amazing. You know, you see all this stuff, and it's all fake stuff. They're fake people. But you see all of this stuff happening, and I say to a lot of different people that work for us, we have great people. I say, do you think that affects us in the polls? Yes, sir. I think you've gone up 10 points. We have. We've gone up a lot. But we're leading against all Republicans by more than 50 points, every one of them. You know, you hear about different Republicans. And we're beating Biden by 5 points or more. And we're beating Kamala Harris, the North Korea sympathizer. She's a sympathizer. We're beating her by 10 points. No, she likes North Korea. I think that was one of the worst mistakes of all. Can you imagine? They're standing on the border. North Korea's over there shooting off missiles as she's speaking. They shot out 2 missiles. And I got along very good with Kim Jong-un. That's another one. We got along great with Kim Jong-un. We didn't have a problem. But he doesn't like these people too much. But think of it. They're shooting off missiles, and she's saying about North Korea is our ally and our friend. And when I heard it, I said, oh, this is just sort of a... She didn't mean that. Did you see the people in South Korea, what they were doing as they're standing there listening? That would be one of the only times where they should have sent somebody up to talk to her and say, listen, you really made a big one. We got to change this. You know, normally if you blow it, I don't want to have somebody walk up here and say, sir, could you just rephrase it, please? I'd get angry. But you know what? In that one, I would be very happy to receive their advice, because that's one of the worst I've ever seen. That's one of the worst I've ever seen. I think it's just gross. It's gross incompetence. In my opinion, all of these local prosecutors' offices are being told what to do by a very corrupt federal government. Where's Hunter? Where's Hunter, by the way? At the same time, the company that wants to finance Truth Social. Do you know about Truth Social? It's hot as a pistol. It's hot as a pistol. But this is a finance company. It's a SPAC. Is being targeted by the SEC. Now, you know, look, if they don't come up with the financing, I'll have it private. Truth Social is hot. It's easier to have it private. You have to go through all this stuff. By miraculous coincidence, but you have to hear this, the head of the SEC was the chief financial officer of crooked Hillary Clinton's campaign. I said, who is he? He doesn't seem to be very reasonable. It's not even after me. They're after these poor guys. They said, we'd love to finance your SPAC. That's the end of that. They were served a subpoena because they're trying to silence us. But the head, think of it, the head of the SEC was the chief financial officer of crooked Hillary's campaign that she lost to us. And you won't believe this one, but Melissa Hodgman, I call her Melissa Hodgman Strzok, is the wife of the legendary Peter Strzok of the FBI. And she's the acting director of enforcement at the SEC. So think of this. Peter Strzok's wife is going after the people wanting to finance our platform. Can you imagine? Is this, again, this could only happen to Trump. This doesn't happen to people. Remember, Strzok and his lover, Lisa Page, had a torrid affair and were writing love notes about the insurance policy to take out Trump if he should win the election. Should he win, we have an insurance policy. You know what the insurance policy was? All of the things that we've been through over the last 5 years. These are dangerous people who are willing to burn every American institution to the ground to target their political opponents. These are very sick and dangerous people. But we will never let them silence us. Truth Social, go out and sign up now. It's our voice. The radical left lunatics are doing everything possible to cancel our American First. This is America First. What's wrong with America First? We put our nation ahead of others, and we want to help others. But we have our nation to watch, and our nation has probably never been in more dangerous conditions than it is now. Everything's going bad, everything. But truth is carrying the banner and carrying it proudly and carrying it well. And we will continue onward like nobody has ever continued onward before. There's never been a movement like this. And the funny part is, just remember, they are trying to damage me in order that I don't run for president. So they're doing it. They're throwing them all, the local DAs, the state attorney generals. I had a perfect phone call in Atlanta, Georgia, like so perfect, as good as the perfect phone call I had for the impeachment hoax. Remember that? That was a perfect call, too. In fact, the fair people said, wow, that was a good call. I heard people say, I never knew you were so nice. I never knew you were so nice. A lot of senators told me that. I never knew you could be so nice. These are disinformation maniacs, and they're really good at disinformation or misinformation, whichever one you want to use. They're close enough to each other. They all say they really want to run against President Trump, and then they go out and spend millions and millions of dollars to make sure I'm not the candidate. That's what they do. We want to run against Trump. By the way, let's put him under investigation in 19 different locations. No, but I did. I had a friend said, you must be the most honest human being, and because it would take days to find somebody. This has been going on for years. This is going on now for 6 years. 6 years! Ever since I came down that beautiful golden escalator in Trump Tower. The radical left thinks by doing all these sinister and venomous things, they're making us weaker, but actually they're making us much stronger and much more unified. Remember, I was also, we just talk about this as a byproduct, investigated by almost every committee in Congress, all of which failed. Remember that? I used to get a subpoena. I have a wonderful son named Eric Trump. I don't believe there's anybody in the history of our country. This is a wonderful kid. This is a wonderful guy doing a great job. Every day he gets subpoena, subpoena, subpoena. He said, I think I have the world record, Dad. But they went after us for years. And, you know, it's amazing. People come up to me. A very strong guy a few days ago came up to me. A tough guy, very tough, very successful. Many of you would know his name, but I won't give his name because I don't know if he likes it. He's probably afraid to give his name. But he came up to me, could I ask you a question, Mr. President? What? How do you take it? I said, take what? The abuse that you're given by these people with all of the investigations. I couldn't last for 2 days. I said, do I have a choice? I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. But he's tough. But a lot of people ask me that. They ask me that question, how do you do it? And we still were one of the most successful presidents and administrations in the history of our country. Right? Right, Boris? For example, I took a dilapidated, broken, and tired landmark building in Washington, D.C., called the old post office. It was shot. It had been empty for, I don't know, different numbers, like 30 years, 50 years, many, many years. It sat there. It is before and after. But we took that building. We invested a tremendous amount of money and energy into it. And energy is just as hard as money. It's actually much harder. We spent a lot of time and a lot of effort and did a fantastic job, my family, myself. And we made it into an absolute work of art. It's so beautiful. And it opened, and it became very, very successful. In fact, I upped the budget during the course because I just like with the wall, I built the wall, and then I said, let's build more. We built more. He could have finished the rest of it in 3 weeks, just same thing. I said, let's go with all the best marble in the lobby. Let's go with the best fixtures. But we just upped it, and it was great. And someone comes along and says, how did he get the deal? How did he get it? I think that was another subpoena. How did I get it? Anybody else gets it, you know. But how did I get it? Then I sold it, and we made a profit. And then they wanted to start another investigation. And then they found out that I got it from the Obama administration long before I won the presidency. And that ended that. That was the end of that. That was the end of that. I got it from Obama. And by the way, the head of the GSA, who was very professional, and the people in the GSA are fantastic, by the way, but the head of the GSA, I believe, was fired shortly after that. When he heard I got it, he went crazy. Because he didn't like me much even before the fact. But I built a great company with very, very low debt and a tremendous amount of cash. And we do the things that we have to do. We do a great job. But they've done everything in their power to harass me and demean me, and also to demean the people in this room and the people in the Republican Party. That's all they're good at, demeaning people, leading people astray, because our movement's historic strength. The radical left Democrats have set the power of law enforcement against me at a level never seen before in the history of our country. You have no idea. I mean, people coming out. We have an MSDNC. You know what the MSDNC is? It's called MSNBC, but we call it MSDNC. That's Democrat National Committee. MS, Democrat National Committee. Who, another one got elected on, I'll take Trump down, I'll take Trump. And she's heading up a DA's office someplace. It is so horrible what they've done. And you know, they never get down to like, how do we make our country great? It's always like, let's investigate everybody. Let's do. And they're the ones that should be investigated because they're the crooked people. Every freedom-loving American needs to understand the time to stand up to this growing tyranny is right now. You don't have time to waste. If you don't want to live under the boot of cruel and vindictive left-wing tyrants, then you need to stand with the MAGA, Make America Great Again movement. And we had it great. We had it great. We had it great. And remember, prior to the China virus coming into our country, COVID, they like to call it COVID, I like to call it more accurately, the China virus. But prior to the China virus coming in, we did numbers in the history of the world. Nobody's ever done the numbers we were doing. And then when that plague came in, we had to rebuild it again, and we did it a second time, and we handed them back a stock market that was higher than it was just prior to the China virus coming in, and much higher than it is right now, okay? Does anybody have a 401k? Is anybody happy with their 401k? I don't think so. People are down 40, 50%, their 401ks. If I were elected, if the election wasn't rigged, you'd be up 50 or 60%. If you don't want to be persecuted and ruled over by the radical left maniacs, then you need to elect America First Republicans to every single office at every single level. If you don't want America to become a third world country, and we are heading toward becoming a third world country. If you look at the election offices, if you look at the way they counted the ballots, remember, the ballot counter is far more important, sadly, in our country than the candidate. That's why you people have to be very careful. Tudor, you better be careful. One thing with Matt gets in, we're not going to have any problems anymore because he will straighten it out. He's tough as hell. He's tough as hell. But the vote counter is, in our country, in my opinion, far more important than the candidate. We just saw that. Then you need to ensure these thugs and zealots go down in the largest midterm defeat our nation has ever seen. Because one thing, the more votes you get, the harder it is for them to cheat. But they figure it out anyway. No matter what the left-wing tyrants throw at us, no matter what they do to us, we have no choice. We have to keep on going. We have to keep on fighting because we are on a mission to restore the republic to greatness. We're on a mission to bring it back, and it's really down, and it's down very big. Down very big. Very precarious what's going on. Very, very precarious. By the way, is there anything better than a Trump rally on a late Saturday afternoon/evening? Having a good time, talking about bad things. We're talking about bad things, but we're having as good a time as you can have considering the subject. But we'll be talking about great things someday in the hopefully not too distant future. You could take the 5 worst presidents in American history and put them together, and they would not have done the damage Joe Biden has done to our nation in less than 2 years. And we could end up in a third world war, remember it. You want to know? And I said it the other day on the great Sean Hannity show. We love Sean. But I said, I would rather see, as somebody that loves our country, I would rather see Joe Biden do a great job for this country, even if it meant that we may not be successful at doing whatever it is we want to do. I would rather see him do a great job for our country. But our country is going to hell, and it's going to hell very fast at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Everything is wrong. 2 years ago, when I was in office, gasoline, was at $1.87 a gallon. It actually had a period where it was at $1.50. It actually hit $1.50 at one point. Now gas is $5, $6, $7, and even the other day, despite the fact that they're stealing from the National Strategic Reserves, the other day in California, you had an area where it was $8 a gallon. It's going to go up right after the election because they can't take any more. The strategic reserves were topped out. Remember, for the first time in 52 years, 2 days ago, it was reported that they're at the lowest level they've ever remembered. Think of that. Because he wants to keep the gasoline prices down until right after the election. You're going to pay a big price after that. And they brag because it came down just a little bit. They say, well, gasoline, so $1.87, even $1.50 during the term. Then they say, oh, it dropped 20 cents. It dropped 20 cents. Yeah, it's like $4.80. Under my leadership, we had, for the first time, American energy independence, and we were heading toward energy dominance, total dominance. We were going to be bigger than Saudi Arabia. We were going to be bigger than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined, and you could add Venezuela, where now we're going begging for oil in Venezuela. Can you imagine? We're like beggars. We're like begging for energy. And we have more energy than anybody. China builds a new coal-fired power station every single week. Think of this. They're building coal-fired power stations, plants, always next to a brand new solar panel plant that makes these panels to sell to the United States at tremendous prices. Think of it. So we're putting these plants. Hey, could you imagine during the flood if we had nice big solar fields all over the place? How long would they last? Not too long, would they? No, but they're building coal-fired plants all over China, and they're building solar plants so that the suckers can buy the solar plants. And I'm not against solar. Wind is a disaster, by the way. They're ruining our fields. They're ruining everything. They're killing our birds. I don't know, the environmentalists, they like wind. They're destroying your fields. They're destroying everything, killing all the birds, and then they say we like wind. It's also the most expensive energy you can get. And you know where the turbines are made? In China. They're made in China. We gave you the largest tax cuts and regulation cuts in American history. The radical Democrat Congress has passed one of the largest tax hikes in American history. You know that. All this stuff that you're seeing now where they're taking trillions of dollars for the Green New Deal, it's like throwing it right out the window. You might as well throw it out the window. Waste of time. And you know what? It's going to cause more inflation than you've ever seen. I used to say we're going to end up being Venezuela on steroids. And I never thought it would happen. First of all, I thought we were going to easily win the election, which we did. But I never thought it was going to happen. But I used to say we are going to end up being Venezuela on steroids. That's exactly where we're heading. People don't realize, you know, Venezuela 20 years ago was very, very successful. And then they started doing exactly what our country is doing. And look at them now. They don't have water. They don't have food. Everyone's fleeing They're fleeing. Under the Trump administration, we had the greatest economy in the history of the world with no inflation. We had no inflation. Biden and the Democrat Congress created the worst inflation in 51 years, 9.2%. Now, I have to say that the inflation is going to get much higher now. It's going to get much higher right after the election. Watch what happens. I rebuilt our military, including our nuclear capability and the creation of Space Force, which was so badly needed. But they surrendered our strength and turned Afghanistan into the greatest humiliation our country has ever seen. I believe that was the most humiliating point in time in the history of our country. And now we have a war between Russia and Ukraine with potentially hundreds of thousands of people dying. That would never have happened. That war would never, ever have happened if I were president. And it didn't happen. For 4 years plus a long campaign, it didn't happen. Would have never happened with Putin. Never, never, ever. 2 years ago, we had the strongest southern border in our history. Now we have the worst border in our history. We have the worst border, I believe, of any country ever in history. Under my leadership, we ended catch and release. We cracked down on fraudulent asylum seekers and visa overstayers, and we deported illegal alien gang members, the roughest gang members anywhere in the world. MS-13. The worst gang members, they carve people up with knives because it's much more painful than a bullet, and it takes a lot longer. They killed 2 young girls walking to high school in Long Island. They killed them, and they sliced them up because they wanted to see pain. And this is the people. And by the way, many of the people coming in, they're from the prisons of 100 other countries in this world, not just the 3 or 4 with Mexico and Guatemala and El Salvador. You know, we think these are coming in from prisons all over the world. They're dumping. We're like a dumping ground. The United States has become a dumping ground for the prisoners of other countries because they don't want to spend the money to take care of these people for the next 50 years. How stupid are we? And we built hundreds of miles of border wall. We did a great job, and that's really the reason, despite, remember, I got sued for 2.5 years. 2.5 years by Democrats. They sued us 11 different lawsuits. I won every single one of them, and we built it. Completely finished the original plan, and then we added much more wall. And we almost got that finished, too. They would have done it in 3 weeks. In short, the election was rigged and stolen, and now our country is being absolutely destroyed because of it. I ran twice. I won twice. I did much better the second time than I did the first, getting millions and millions of more votes in 2020 than we did in 2016, and likewise getting more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country, as I said. And now we might just have to do it again. I think you're going to be very happy. I think you'll be very happy. I think you're going to be happy. You know, under these ridiculous rules and regulations, you're not allowed to talk about it. The campaign finance laws we have in this country are so stupid. But I think you'll be very happy. But first, we have to win a historic victory for the Republican Party this November, coming up. Job number 1 for a Republican Congress is to stop the invasion of our southern border. It's an invasion. We're being invaded. No different than an army of soldiers pouring across. These are an army of many, many criminals pouring across, and we have no idea who they are, where they come from. We know nothing about them. In Arizona last month, great state, an illegal alien criminal was sentenced for walking into a convenience store, taking out his gun, executing the wonderful young 21-year-old clerk in cold blood on camera and walking out with a pack of cigarettes from behind the counter. He did it for a pack of cigarettes. His parents are devastated, as they would be. He did it for a pack of cigarettes, an animal. And then they say, you shouldn't call a person an animal. He's an animal. Last week in New York, an illegal alien was sentenced to a very short sentence, for stabbing a police officer in the neck out of nowhere, grabbing his gun and firing at other officers. Think of that. That's I call it peekaboo. That's peekaboo. Think of that. That's your state attorney general making it almost impossible with her rules and regulations to ever put a real criminal, a killer, a murderer, a drug dealer in jail. She's the worst. The state attorney general of New York, peekaboo. I think she's the absolute worst. And in Boston last year, an illegal alien visa overstayer tried to rob a father of 12 children before mercilessly stabbing him 8 times to his death. The radical Democrats want to turn America into one giant sanctuary for dangerous and horribly dangerous criminal aliens. In the Republican Party, we believe our country should be a sanctuary for law-abiding citizens who love our country and respect our country and love our flag. We are honored to be joined tonight by Kent Terry, the brother of fallen Border Patrol agent Brian Terry, who was killed in the line of duty in 2010 in a shootout linked to the Obama administration's Fast and Furious scheme, a scheme so dumb it's not to be believed. We won't even discuss it. The last murderer involved in that shootout was finally sentenced for his crimes in a long time. Kent, we grieve for your loss, and we always will stand with you, as we did during 4 years of what we were doing for the hunt. And we stand with the heroes of ICE, and they are heroes, and the heroes of Border Patrol. They are great, great people. Thank you. Where is Kent? Where is Kent? Border Patrol, ICE, these are great, talented, tough people. I know a lot of the people in these rows here, they've been waiting online for 3-4 days to get in. First row Joes, right? First row Joes. But you know what? They're tough, but they don't want to be ICE. They don't want to walk into a pack of MS-13 gang members and say, let's fight it out. And that's what these guys do. They fight it out. They're tough as hell. They love our country. And we're going to take good care of them, and we're going to take care of our Border Patrol, because what they're going through is ridiculous. All they had to do is nothing. All they had to do is nothing. If they did nothing, we had it stopped. And we had drugs at the lowest point in 57 years coming into our country, the lowest point because of the wall that we built and all the other things. But if we're going to make America great again, we have to make America safe again. It can't be great if it's not safe. And under Gretchen Whitmer and the radical Democrats, your cities and towns have become an absolute killing field. Just 4 weeks ago, a sadistic murderer in Detroit went on a random shooting rampage, slaughtering a 43-year-old mother of 5, wonderful young person, at a bus stop, killing another middle-aged woman, murdering a 28-year-old man, and gravely wounding an 80-year-old gentleman who was out walking his dog. Much of the crime wave is caused by drug dealers who, during their lives, will kill an average of 500 American citizens. Think of it. Think of it. And I tell the story, I'll tell it quickly, but when I was dealing with China, and when I was dealing with Russia, and when I was dealing with all these countries, I got to know them all well, and I asked President Xi, they have 1.5 billion people, and they'd say, is he smart? I'd say, yes, he's smart. And then the press would say, he's saying President Xi is smart. Yeah, he's the ruler of 1.5 billion. He's smart, very smart, beyond smart. I said, President, do you have a drug problem? No, 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 he said, almost like can't even believing the question. No, no, we have no drug problem. I said, that's strange. 1.5 billion people, they have no drug. The only problem they have is they make the drugs and send them into our country. But we had that close to stop. Now it's coming in at levels, fentanyl, coming in at levels like we've never seen before, killing, I believe, 250,000 people a year. That's a war. That's a war. But I said, you have a drug problem? He said, no. I said, how come? Quick trial. I said, President, may I ask you, what the hell is a quick trial? What is a quick trial? He said, we catch the drug dealer, we bring him to a quick trial. Because there's no games. You know, this guy is a fierce guy. Some of these people, they're fierce. They're at the top of their game. We need people at the top of their game. President Xi is at the top of his game. He probably says, what the hell is going on with this country called the United States? What is going on? But he said, no, we catch them and we try them. It is a quick trial. And if convicted, I think probably we can say that close to 100% are convicted. They execute the drug dealers. I said, so the result is what? The result is nobody wants to be a drug dealer in China. And if we did that in our country, they do it in Singapore, they do it in other countries. Every country that does it has no drug problem. They don't have drug problems in Singapore and others. And it sounds horrible using that term, the death penalty. But you know what? For the police officers, where you kill a police officer, it's not fair. They shoot them in their car when they're sitting, waiting, watching, and they shoot them in the back of their head while they're sitting in a car. No, for police officers, and also for human traffickers. They traffic in women, and they kill a lot of them. But you have to have the death penalty, and if you don't do that, you're going to have crime is going to go through the roof. Through the roof. And if you do it, and if you have a meaningful death penalty, meaningful and fair and all of that, but if you have a meaningful death penalty for drug dealers and traffickers, but if you have a meaningful death penalty, crime in our country will go down 80 to 85% in one day. One day. It'll take one day. And just remember, you know, people don't like hearing it, and then they hear the stats. So they say that the one dealer kills 500 people during his or her lifetimes. That's a lot. And they also destroy families and people so badly. So I really believe that has to be a part of our platform. That has to be a part of what we do. And I think I can say that from John's standpoint, from everybody's standpoint, we have no choice but to do it. It's not like we have a choice. We don't have a choice. Under a Republican Congress, we should also pass emergency funding to hire thousands and thousands more police officers nationwide, to put violent criminals behind bars and keep them behind bars. And the other thing is, leave our police alone. Let them do their job. Give them back their respect. They know what to do. We have to allow them to do it. They want to take away all sorts of protections for our police officers. And they still want to defund. I'll tell you what, these radical lefts, they want to defund our police. It's the craziest thing anyone's ever heard. And if you're warm, today, a little warm, this building was not meant for this many people. And I want to thank the officials for allowing a lot, and many thousands of people still couldn't get in, but this was, especially, you know, you had your team playing today, I saw, right? How did they do? They won, I think, right? Did they win? Go Blue. Good team. Did they win? Okay. That's what I thought. The first step to restoring public safety is defeating the radical Democrats this November, and that starts with trouncing Whitmer. Don't forget. The only one that benefited was her husband. Her husband was a big beneficiary. Gretchen Whitmer is one of the most radical, most sinister governors in America. You know that. She cruelly imposed the most brutal lockdowns in the entire country, causing Michigan to lose more jobs than any other state in the union. I bet you didn't know that. Gretchen Whitmer's horrific school closures inflicted severe and irreversible harm on countless Michigan children, and Michigan parents will never, ever forgive her for that. Meanwhile, her administration has relentlessly pushed critical race theory, blatant racism, and transgender insanity upon our children. Whitmer is also an anti-energy extremist who wants to triple the gas tax. That's all you need now. $5 gasoline, and let's put a big tax on it, after promising not to raise it, and supports eliminating the internal combustion engine. We can't have that anymore. You know, the problem with the electric cars, they don't go very far. You know, I have a friend, he bought one, then he wanted to make a cross-country trip He said, I spent all my time juicing up my crazy car. He got rid of it very quickly, which will absolutely kill the Michigan auto industry forever. Meanwhile, Gretchen Whitmer is presiding over the worst crime wave in the history of your state, yet she supports deadly sanctuary cities, abolishing ICE, driver's licenses for illegal aliens, and she said she supports the spirit. I support, she said, the spirit of defunding the police. That's bad. To top it all off, Gretchen Whitmer is a radical abortionist who is, and you see this, she's fanatically committed to taxpayer-funded late-term abortion through the 9th month of pregnancy. And even after the baby is born, take a look at that wacko governor, previous former governor from Virginia. He said, you put the baby down and then you decide what to do with it after the baby is born. These are radical. These are radical abortionists. Ronald Reagan and myself, like Ronald Reagan, believe in the exceptions for rape and incest and the life of the mother. I believe in the exceptions. But the radical Democrats believe in abortion, and really right from the moment of birth and even after birth. You can't let this happen. There's no country in the world that wants what these crazy people want. They are radical. They want to rip babies from the wombs. Remember during the debate with crooked Hillary Clinton, I said they want to rip the baby from the womb even in the 9th month. Michigan, you need to dump this wild-eye extremist Gretchen Whitmer and put Tudor Dixon in the governor's mansion. Good woman. Tudor is a mother with a beautiful family, a patriot and a former small business owner. I knew her father. Her father was so proud of her. He passed away recently, but a wonderful steel person. I learned a lot about steel from him. He knew it better than anybody. But she's had a decade of experience in the steel manufacturing business where the family was very successful. And had I not put the tariffs on the steel companies for coming in from China and China Steel, we really hit them hard. We took in billions and billions. But we saved our steel industry. We saved our washing machine industry. We saved many industries. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs and taxes from China. They did not like me too much. That's why a lot of people said, I wonder why COVID came here. She will fight for Michigan families like no one has ever fought before. I've been with her for now a long time. She's a great person. We introduced her at my last rally up here, and she took off like a rocket ship. Tudor is a national leader in the battle to protect our children by getting race and gender ideology out of the classroom and return our schools to teaching, reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? The old-fashioned reading, writing, and arithmetic. Tudor will stop the Whitmer crime wave, and that's what it is. It's a crime wave in your state. And she has pledged to deliver $1 billion to strengthen police forces across your state. That's why Tudor is endorsed by nearly 24 county sheriffs and almost all of the police. She will defend your job. She will defend your manufacturing. She will defend your safety. And she will defend your values. So I'd like to just ask Tudor, please come up and say a few words. Tudor Dixon.
Thank you so much. So I just want to say that when we took a little break, I spoke before, I went out and talked to the media, and I had one of the folks from the media ask me an interesting question. She said, I listened to your acceptance speech, and I listened to your speech tonight, and I think you hit Whitmer pretty hard. Do you think that you're coming off as a mean girl? The truth hurts. We're not going to let our kids be radicalized. We're not going to let our kids be sexualized. We're not going to let our law enforcement be demonized. We're not going to tell our businesses they can't expand. And everything I've said about Gretchen Whitmer's record is true. So all I have to say to that is, stop trying to make re-election happen, Gretchen.
Thank you. Thank you, Tudor. We're also joined by Tudor's excellent choice for Lieutenant Governor, a great guy, Shane Hernandez. Shane? Where is Shane? Okay, Shane, good. Great job. You're doing great. Good choice. Shane's an outstanding leader and a rock-solid conservative, and he's doing fantastically well, so popular in the state, and you're going to really help to bring it back because it's really going down quite badly. So thank you, Shane, very much. This November, you also need to get out and vote for two other brilliant and courageous warriors running statewide. This guy is so tough. I don't know. I'm going to scare you. You're all going to say he's too tough. You need toughness, and it's what they've done to this state. Everyone respects him because he's one of the most successful lawyers in your state. He gave up so much to do this, and he will be better than anybody you've ever had. Your next Attorney General, Matt DePerno, and your next Secretary of State, Christina Caramo. Please come up. Come on up.
Hello. So President Trump is right. There are other people like myself out there being investigated by the radical left. And here's the thing, the media doesn't want to report the truth. They hide it from you. This is what is going on, people. The Democrats in this country are using their offices, taxpayer funds, to go out and weaponize their offices and attack Republicans. Tim Ryan said it just the other week, if we can't cancel them, let's kill MAGA. Whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent, that should terrify you people. It is terrifying what they're doing. And my opponent, Dana Nessel, is a coward. She is a coward because she refuses to stand up to the drug lords bringing illegal fentanyl across our border. She is a coward because she hides in her basement and refuses to debate me. And I say this, people, the media, every one of them, every one of you fake news media people out there, you should be demanding that your elected officials come out of the shadows, get on stage, and support their positions and debate. Now, I gotta say one other thing, people. Recently, Roe v. Wade was overturned. And that would not have happened without the man standing next to me who had the courage to appoint and stand with 3 conservative justices and put them on the Supreme Court. Now, one last thing. You nominated me to be Attorney General. I will fight for you. I will fight against the radical left. I will fight for parental rights in this state. I will fight for election integrity. And I will bring crime down across this state and make your community safe again. So every one of you, I want you to give an applause for Donald Trump, who helped overturn Roe v. Wade.
So right now, the Biden administration is suing the state of Arizona to prevent them from checking citizenship status before registering people to vote. Now, why would they want to do that? And if you point out the obviously, because they want to dump a bunch of illegal registrations into the voter registration database, they'll call you a conspiracy theorist. And then my opponent likes to claim that she's against voter ID. Okay, Michigan, she claims that she's against voter ID because a lot of people have a hard time getting an ID. I have $1 million question for you. Whose job is it to make sure people have an ID? It's the job of the Secretary of State to ensure people have an ID. So if there's lots of people across the state without an ID, it sounds like she's failing at her job and it needs to be removed from office. Kind of obvious. These people are waging war on our sovereignty. They're waging war on our freedom. That's why they're pushing Proposition 2 to allow private money in our elections. Do you know my opponent was one of the architects behind Zuckbucks, where they pumped millions upon millions of dollars in a battleground state to fund these illegal ballot mule operations? And on camera, you have multiple individuals signing multiple ballots. Where is our media? This is on camera. This is all on camera. But instead, they want to call your names and demonize you for simply wanting a fair and honest election. As I've said again, this is the biggest threat to our freedom. Our elections are the heartbeat of our freedom, and they're trying to put a knife in the heart of our liberty by intentionally and consistently corrupting our election system and demonizing citizens who want to speak truth about it. That's why I'm determined to be your next Secretary of State, and we need to make sure that we defeat Proposition 2. And as my buddy Matt here pointed out, what Tim Ryan said about killing the MAGA movement, these people hate our guts because they're terrified of this political movement which will unite Americans across all different demographics and take back our country, demand our freedom, protect our children, and we will stop these people, and there is nothing they can do to stop this MAGA movement. And guess what? We will have a sweeping and decisive victory in November and take those 3 psychopaths out of Lansing. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you very much. Get out and vote. That's what you need. Finally, right here in Michigan's 10th Congressional District, you have the privilege of voting for an incredible patriot, a West Point graduate, a U.S. Army veteran, a successful businessman, and your next Congressman, John James. Thank you, John. Thank you. Good man. We're also joined tonight by Representatives Tim Walberg, he's a warrior, Lisa McClain, a warrior, and of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And your next Congressman from Michigan's 8th District, Paul Young. Good luck, Paul. I hear you're doing very well, Paul. State Representatives Matt Maddock and Stephen Cara. Thank you, fellas. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. State Senate candidate who's doing very well, I understand, Jonathan Lindsay. Jonathan, good. Good, Jonathan. Thank you very much. State House candidates Angela Rigas, Rochelle Smith, and Mike Hoadley. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good luck. They're all doing well. I think Republicans are going to be doing very well. A friend of mine, a great general, a great person that I've known for a long time, one of the earliest of all the generals and one of the best of all the generals, Keith Kellogg. Keith. Thank you, Keith. And Mike, thank you for being here again. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. With the help of everyone here today, over 4 incredible years, we achieved more for the workers and families of Michigan than any administration in the history of our country. After decades of false promises and bitter betrayals from other politicians, I stopped the plunder of Michigan jobs. I ended NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with USMCA, the best trade deal probably ever made. We had a great time, and now Canada and Mexico want to renegotiate. I tell the Biden administration, don't do it. They had their way for many, many decades, and now we have our way. We have a great trade deal. Keep it. Don't renegotiate it. Don't let them do that. I withdrew from the job-killing Trans-Pacific Partnership, would have killed everything here, including your car business, and renegotiated Obama's terrible Korea deal, the worst deal you can imagine, saving Michigan's auto industry from certain ruin and death. To protect American workers, I placed stiff tariffs on foreign aluminum, foreign steel, and many other products. Thank you very much. They were thrilled. China was thrilled. And other countries, too. They paid a lot of money. We took in $420 billion. Nobody else took in 10 cents from China in all these years. Not one president, think of it, not one president took in 10 cents. We took in $420 billion at least. We live by 2 simple, critical rules: buy American and hire American. I stood up to China. We stood up to all of these countries. All of these countries, we stood up to them. No other president's ever done that. They didn't want to do that. We then gave $28 billion to our farmers because our farmers suffered because of what China was doing. They thought they could use our farmers to negotiate a better deal with me, and I met the farmers, and I said they were well represented, but all they wanted was a level playing field. They didn't want anything else. And I said, what do you think? They said, you have to negotiate a great deal. We'll suffer through it, but I know you'll do a great job. But without them, we couldn't have done what we did, and we did. We suffered through it for a year, and China caved and gave us everything, and we ended up with $28 billion that I handed back to the farmers in the form of lots of beautiful checks, and it all came right out of the wallet of China. And that was just a small part of the money we took in from China, very small part. I also authorized millions of dollars to rebuild Michigan's Sulaks. You know that was just dying, and it's all being rebuilt and built, and got you hundreds of millions for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. I got you all of that money. Without me, you wouldn't have had that money. They didn't want to give it to you, the Democrats. We fought for Michigan. We won for Michigan. And this November, we are going to fight and win for Michigan once again. One of the first things we'll do is stand up for parents' rights. Can you believe we're even saying that? So I guess I'm a politician. I think of myself not as a politician, but I guess I am. Can you imagine a politician standing up and saying, we're going to give you parents' rights 10 years ago? Parents' rights? Of course you're going to have parents' rights. I can't, every time I say it, I say, we're going to give you parents' rights. Where the hell has our country been? At long last, every parent in America must be empowered to opt out of the indoctrination and send their child to the public, private, charter, religious, and homeschool. of their choice. And we will keep men out of women's sports. You know those stories. You know those stories. Records are being broken on a daily basis. Records that have stood for many years are being broken on a daily basis. Very unfair. And no teacher should ever be allowed to teach transgender to our children without parental consent, right? We will also keep on fighting for the welfare of America's women and children. Now, you know, people really love Melania, our First Lady. First Lady, Melania. They love her. We got all these signs. We love our First Lady. She is continuing to help children through her Be Best initiative, fostering the future it is, standing up for young people in the foster care community who need our love, our help, and our support. She's done a great job. Done a great job. Thank you, Melania. The Republican Party will continue to be the party of the American family, the American child, and the party of the American dream, which is rapidly going away. We'll bring it back. The radical left Democrat Party is not a 50% party within our country. They're against God, guns, oil, law enforcement, voter ID, tax cuts, regulation cuts. They're against all of these things. They're against the Constitution and the Founding Fathers. Other than that, they're great, aren't they? Now think of it. They're against all of those things. The way they win is to cheat in elections. They cheat like dogs. Everywhere the Republican Party has the chance, we must pass critical election integrity reforms. Matt, you and Christina will do a job, including universal voter ID, citizenship confirmation. They don't want confirmation that somebody's not a citizen. Are you a citizen? It's none of your business. Oh, they have right. This is crazy. They are against citizenship. Think of that. Voter ID, citizenship confirmation. No more fake drop boxes. No private money pouring into local election offices. You got to get your approval from state legislatures, which they didn't do. And ultimately, we need same-day voting with only paper ballots. Same day. You know, France had a big election recently, a few months ago. They had only paper ballots. They had same-day voting. 36 million people voted. Nobody complained at the end. They have a winner, they have a loser, nobody complained. And if they have a complaint, they can check the paper. It doesn't just disappear. You know, it disappears into thin air. By the way, Lisa, please stand up. Lisa McClain. Congresswoman, doing a great job. Oh, I didn't know you were here. Great, Lisa. Doing a great job, thank you. She doing good, Marjorie? Good, yes? Marjorie says yes, that's okay with me. We're just 6 weeks away from the most important midterm election in American history, and we need a landslide so big that the radical left cannot rig it or steal it. We have to have a landslide. Right? Right, Tudor, right? Early voting has started to go, so get out and vote. Vote for Tudor, Shane, Matt, Christina, John, and all the others without delay. Vote Republican. We'll bring back your country. This is the year we're going to take back the House. We're going to take back the Senate. We're going to take back America. And in 2024, most importantly, we are going to take back our beautiful, beautiful, magnificent White House. Together we will fight for more jobs for Michigan families, fair trade for Michigan workers, and more Michigan factories, forging more products stamped with that beautiful phrase, made in the USA. We put it all over the place. Nobody's ever done the job we did. We had that thing booming. Now they want to give the jobs back to China. hate to tell you. We will shut down Biden's border disaster, reinstitute our strong Remain in Mexico policy. How's that policy? You think that was easy? And then they gave it up on day one, Remain in Mexico. No, let's let them come into our country unchecked. Terrible, just terrible. The thought process is so sick. Strengthen the patriots of ICE and Border Patrol. We will again end catch and release. We will end chain migration. We will end the visa lottery. We will clamp down on illegal immigration just like we did less than 2 years ago. Think of it, the safest border in our history. 2 years ago, we had the safest border in our history, and nobody even disputes it, not even the fake news back there. We will stop the crime wave in Democrat-run cities. We will give our police the power they need and the respect that they deserve. And we will not take legal protection away from our police. We will help our police. We will restore law and order in America. You're not going to have people shooting you as you walk down the sidewalk with your child. We will hold China accountable for unleashing the virus upon the world. We will defend our Constitution. We will defend the Second Amendment, which is under siege. And we will proudly uphold the Judeo-Christian values and principles of our nation's founding. We will restore patriotic education to our schools. And we will teach our children to love their country, honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. In conclusion, our MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, is by far the greatest political movement in the history of our country. Nobody even debates it. Nobody says, oh, gee, it might not be. There was a movement 200 years ago. Now, there's never been anything like this. And by the way, far more people than you think. Far more. This isn't a 50-50 country. Far, far more than you think. Together, we're standing up against some of the most menacing forces, entrenched interests, and vicious opponents our people have ever seen before. Despite great outside dangers, our biggest threats remain the sick, sinister, and evil people from within our country. From within. You know the people I'm talking about. You see them all the time. Lie, disinformation, cheat, steal. But no matter how big or powerful the corrupt radical left Democrats that we are fighting against may be, you must never forget, this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you, all of you. This is your home, this is your heritage, and our American liberty is your God-given right. Remember that. From Marquette to Midland, from Mackinac to Saginaw, and from Lansing to beautiful Ann Arbor, to right here in Warren, we inherit the legacy of Michigan patriots who gave their blood, sweat, and tears for this beloved nation. This is the state where Henry Ford invented the assembly line. How about that? It's the place where General Motors, Chrysler, and Kellogg revolutionized entire industries. And Michigan is the state that gave us Motown and Mustang. The unrivaled might of the American Midwest, unrivaled. Your Michigan ancestors forged the steel, built the cities, laid out the railroads, worked the factories, tilled the fields, fought the battles, and won the victories that made America into the greatest and most powerful nation in the history of the world. But now, we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has the highest inflation in 50 years, and where the stock market finished the worst first half of the year since 1872. Likewise, we are a nation that has the highest energy costs in its history. We are no longer energy independent or energy dominant. And we were just there 2 short years ago. We are a nation that is begging Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and many others for oil. Please, please, please help us, Joe Biden says. Yet we have more liquid gold right under our feet than any other country in the world. We are a nation that is consumed by the radical left's Green New Deal, yet everyone knows that the Green New Deal will lead to our destruction. We are a nation whose leaders are demanding all electric cars, even though they can't go far, cost too much, and whose batteries are produced in China with materials only available in China, when unlimited amounts of gasoline are available inexpensively in the United States, but not available in China. We are a nation that ended oil exploration and production in the United States of America just as the price of oil reached an all-time high. We are a nation that surrendered in Afghanistan, leaving behind dead soldiers, American citizens, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment in the world. We are a nation that allowed Russia to devastate a country, Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. It would never have happened with me as your commander-in-chief, and for 4 long years, it never did happen. And China with Taiwan, their circling is next. We are a nation that has weaponized its law enforcement against the opposing political party like never before. We've got a Federal Bureau of Investigation that won't allow bad election-changing facts to be presented to the public, where Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation when they knew it wasn't, and a Department of Justice that refuses to investigate egregious acts of voting irregularities and fraud. And we have a president who's cognitively impaired and in no condition to lead our country, which may very well end up very soon in World War III. We are a nation that no longer has a free and fair press. Fake news is all you get, and they are indeed the enemy of the people. We are a nation where free speech is no longer allowed, where crime is rampant like never before, where the economy has been collapsing, where more people died of COVID in 2021 than in 2020. We are a nation that is allowing Iran to build a massive nuclear weapon and China to use the trillions of dollars it has taken from us to build a military to rival our own. And just 2 years ago, we had Iran, China, Russia, and North Korea in check. They weren't going to do a thing against us, and everyone knows it. They respected your leader, and they respected our country. And perhaps most importantly, we are a nation that is no longer respected. We are a nation that is no longer listened to around the world. We are a nation that in many ways has become a joke. And we are a nation that is hostile to liberty, freedom, and faith. We are a nation whose economy is floundering, whose stores are not stocked, whose deliveries are not coming, and whose educational system is ranked at the very bottom of every single list. We are a nation where large packs of criminals and thieves are allowed to go into stores and openly rob them, beat up the help, and kill people. They will kill people, and they kill them at will, if necessary, and even if not necessary. And there is no retribution. We are a nation whose once revered airports are a dirty, crowded mess where you sit and wait for hours and then are notified that the plane won't leave. And they have no idea when they will, as a nation, when they will be delivered and when you will be delivered to your destination. It's a nation where ticket prices are through the roof. They don't have the pilots to fly the plane. They don't want or seek qualified air traffic controllers. And they don't know what the hell they're doing. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, its willpower, and its strength. We are a nation that has lost its way. But we are not going to let this continue. 2 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will stand up to the radical left Democrats and the rhinos, and we will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. There is no mountain we cannot climb. There is no summit we cannot reach. There is no challenge we cannot meet. There is no victory we cannot have. We will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield. We will never, ever, ever give in. We will never give up. We will never, ever back down. As long as we are confident and united, the tyrants we are fighting do not stand even a chance. Because we are Americans, and Americans kneel to God and God alone. The silent majority is back and stronger than ever before. My fellow citizens, this incredible journey we are on together has only just begun. And it is time to start talking about greatness for our country again. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious American nation. So with the help of everyone here today and citizens all across our land, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. Proud. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Michigan. God bless you all. Thank you, Michigan. Thank you very much.